Hello and good morning. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So before we get started on the next chapter, we're going to go ahead and invite some people on here. There we go. Did you lose something?
Got it.
Ah.
Stupid. I thought I erased my notes, so sorry. Dang it. Go.
Oh my goodness. All right, so we are on chapter 3 of, where's our book? The Leader's Greatest Return.
Oh, I can't hold it. Oh.
There you go, just don't drop it. Alrighty, so chapter 4, motivating leaders. So everybody talks about motivation. They want to, they say they want to be motivated before they do something, but really you need to create a habit before you start to get motivated, because motivation is based on emotions and how you feel during the day, but habits are something that you do consistently. But by doing those consistent things every single day, you're going to get the motivation that you need to go out and do what you're supposed to do. So, but a common question we'll hear from leadership is, how do I motivate people? And the answer is that you don't. Instead, try to inspire them and help them find their own motivations. That means you must first find your own motivations and model the behavior that you want to see in the other people that you lead. Oh, excuse me. Because when you start doing that, people are going to do half of what you're doing. So you need to model exactly what you want people to be doing, because everything that you're doing wrong is also what they're going to be doing a lot of, because they're going to pay attention to that. So you need to be very conscious of what you're doing and what you're saying in front of your team, otherwise they're going to mimic it. It's kind of like having a toddler. They never say all the things that you want them to say. They always say the things that you don't want them to say that they've heard you say. So you want to make sure that you're being a good example and a good model for the people on your team. So John talks about there's 7 motivators for leaders. One of these 7 are usually where people are at, but usually leaders are all of them because of where they're at. So we're going to go over those. So the 7 motivations of leaders. So number 1 is purpose. Leaders want to do what they were created to do. Finding your purpose of what you want to go do and what it means, where you want to be. And there's a couple questions that John says you want to ask yourself when you're trying to find your purpose. Talent, what do you do well? Desire, what do you want to do? Recognition, what do others say that you do well? Results, what do you do that has productive return? And growth, what do you do that you can keep getting better at doing? So with all these answers, depending on how you answer for each one of these, if they align, you're probably discovered your purpose, which means if they relate to each other and they all flow together, then you probably found your purpose. However, an example of something where it doesn't quite fit, if your talent and what you want to do is not compatible, you haven't discovered your purpose yet. It's not until these 5 things are aligned that you've found your purpose. Number 2, leaders want freedom to control their lives. I think this is why self-employment and entrepreneurship looks so attractive from the outside. A lot of people like the idea of not having a boss and not being told what to do. So people like that freedom to be able to stretch themselves and just be able to do what they would like to do, not just being told what to do. Number 3, relationships. Leaders want to do things with other people. Number 4, progress. Leaders want to experience personal and professional growth. So they get a joy. When you talk to most leaders, they get a joy of expanding. They want to go further. They want to progress, and they want to do better than what they did yesterday. They like to track, and they have a lot of action. So it's always tracking and taking action of what they want to go do. So number 5, mastery. Leaders want to excel at their work. And sorry, trying to figure out where the heck I'm at here. So the desire for personal and professional growth often leads to the next source of motivation that inspires many people, and the desire of mastery. Once you get it's very hard to, you never stop learning, but you get to a point where most people look at you as if you've mastered the game. And it never stops, but you get to a point where not as many people get to that point, and that's when a lot of people start looking towards you for advice and consultation. Number 6, recognition. Leaders want others to appreciate their accomplishments. I think a lot of people are in this one. A lot of people like to be recognized for the hard work that they put into something. And that's for a lot of people. A lot of people like to be there because some people, depending on how you grew up, don't get a lot of recognition for things that they did well. And it's more so about the things that they did wrong. It's like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you need to stop doing that, rather than you did this well, let's keep doing that. Number 7, money. Leaders want to be financially secure. There are many things more important than money, and they all cost money, unfortunately. But I thought that was a great quote, because that's very true. Because I hear a lot of people say that, especially with how I grew up, they say money doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, but without it, we don't have anything else. So I'm like, money may not be everything, however, it does make life a hell of a lot easier. And it gives you more options. The more money that you have and the more financially secure you are, the more likely that you're actually going to do the right things than you are to do the wrong things. Because when you're short on cash and things aren't going so well, people do some crazy stuff. So it's a good place to get to where your money is secure and you don't need it, where then you can use that money to then go help people. And John talks about that. He's like, once you get to that financially secure point, then it's what can I do for others, not so much what can others do for me. So with these principles, that's what he basically gives about the chapter, and it's just how to, what in the world? So it's basically just where are you at out of all those habits, what motivates you the most, but all leaders are motivated by all 7 of those. And you just got to figure out where you're at, and then creating the habits that you need to have to be able to get yourself where you need to go. So finding your purpose, create a plan, and then start doing those things, doing what you need to do daily to be able to get to where you want to go. Most of the time, the daily activity is personal development and actually doing your calls and talking with people. Because when we're running, it's mostly talking to people and setting up the times. And a lot of people say, they're like, oh, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. The problem with always saying I'm going to get to it is you're never going to get to it. Something's going to go on with the kids. You're going to want to do the dishes. You're going to want to do things in the yard, and something's always going to come up. You need to set a block of time during the day that is the time that you do your calls, and that's when you reach out to people. Now, I personally like after, let's see, I usually do it in the afternoon. It's been kind of all over the place lately because I do it in between all of our appointments for the Holistic Health Company. But I usually do all my calls between 3 o'clock and 7 p.m. The reason I do that is it's after work. It's not conflicting if people are at work, and it's a good time to get a hold of people because that's when people are usually available. So with that, that's what I pretty much have for this chapter today. Jeff, what did you get out of this chapter?
Well, the chapter is actually about motivating others. How do you motivate leaders? First of all, you have to be on track to be able to attract them to what's going on. Hello, Gianna. So encouraging people to give their best. How do you get people to do that? You had mentioned one of the things John talks about is, how do you motivate others? He's like, you actually can't do it. Good leaders inspire others only to the extent that they inspire themselves. So you have to get people around the content. You have to get people around the environment. I mean, it's funny that John actually spells out, you need to get people to books. You need to get people to audios. You need to get people to videos. You need to get people to seminars. And then it kind of works itself out. So that's kind of one of the things you do inside of network marketing and direct sales is you have to be the best example you possibly can be. And then you have to drive traffic to the events that basically put people in an environment where they figure it out themselves. If you have a group of people that don't figure it out themselves, you don't really have any leadership going on at all. What you have is a bunch of followers. And that's okay. You need followers inside the business to be able to grow the business yourself. And you can get to the top of a lot of charts. One of the questions, I was having a conversation with one of my team members, and they were like, but I'm not around the right people. I'm just not around the right people. How do I get to around the right people? And it was funny that John actually said yesterday, well, he didn't say it yesterday, but he wrote it in the book and went over it. In chapter 3, he actually talks about you're going to find the right people through numbers. Meaning, when you go through enough people, the right people will start to come out. You basically get around excellence inside of an industry when you're there long enough and you're doing enough work. So you have to kind of make up in numbers what you lack in influence in the beginning. By just bringing on a ton of people, I found, when I first got started, I wasn't able to bring on any leaders. I wasn't able to bring on people who could do it. I wasn't able to bring on people who could take off. So what I did, I just gathered the people who were just interested. I said, hey, would you want to join just to be put in a position where we're going to put people on your team. We're going to put people underneath you. We're going to drive volume underneath you. Would you want to, be put in that situation? And people started getting in. And we just kept bringing people in and kept bringing people in and kept bringing people in. And what happened eventually is we had some people who figured it out and started to take off. That attracted other people. So it's like you just have to make up in numbers what you lack in the skill set initially or what you lack in influence initially. So the 7 motivators of leaders' purpose. So the team that Brandon and I put together, MVP, stands for mission, vision, purpose. So John goes into, unfortunately, many people do not have any purpose, especially when it comes to necessarily building a business. A lot of people are just wandering out there and they're doing what we all did. They're just surviving. They're going to work, they're paying bills. They're going to work, they're paying bills. They're going to work, they're paying bills. As a friend of mine used to say, work, home, work, home, work, home, home, work, home, work, home, work. Nobody likes doing homework. So that was kind of his joke inside of a meeting. He's like, didn't you get out of school so you didn't have to do homework? He goes, but you're going home to work, home to work, home to work, homework, homework, homework. He's like, you're doing that 5 days a week and then you have 2 days off. He goes, there's a different way to do it. You can just get out of doing it if you build your way out. A great man is one sentence. I thought this was really cool. He said, when they believe nothing is truly good, right, and worthy striving and sacrificing for, their lives can feel meaningless and barren. He was just talking about when people lack purpose. He said, a great man is in one sentence. His leadership can be summed up so well that in a single sentence, you don't have to hear his name to know who he is or who he talked about. And he talked about, freed the slaves and won the war. Everybody's like, oh, well, obviously we know who that is. So that was actually Claire Booth Luce that actually was talking to Kennedy about, a great man can be summed up in one sentence, and what is going to be your sentence? So John was like, I wonder what my sentence will be. And I kind of wrote one of these just for, to kind of think it through. He built with principle of 10x and dominated every space he went into. And I'm guessing most people would figure out who that is. So question to ask to help someone find their purpose. So these are the questions John says would be really good to ask. Number one is talent. What do you do well? I think these are really good to ask people. Maybe not initially. It's not the first thing you're going to ask people, but when you go to get to know people. So we have a form called an agent profile. And in the agent profile, we ask a bunch of questions. Really just, it's like a discovery sheet to get to know somebody. Like if you were in an interview and you were going to ask somebody a bunch of questions and you laid it out in an order and you say, well, this would basically build rapport. This would tell me who this person is. This is a discovery about kind of motivation. This is a discovery about purpose. This is a discovery about, a vision of who this person's been around and who they see, their personality. That's what the agent profile is built for, and it's used generically. I mean, anybody could use this. You could use this in real estate. You could use this in insurance. You could use this as a school teacher. It's just a list of questions that you can ask people to kind of get to know people better. I've seen people use this discovery sheet, and at the end, it asks 5 really important questions, and those questions are basically to figure this stuff out. What motivates somebody? That's actually one of the questions. The first one is, what are your strengths? The second one is what are your weaknesses? The third one is where do you see yourself in 5 years? Then it's, what motivates you? And the last question is, what is the most important thing in your life right now? One of the things I'm doing there is finding out, are they in alignment? Because they're like, well, I just don't know who I am or what I'm doing, and the most important thing in my life right now is tacos. I mean, I've heard stuff like that where people are like, what the heck? I'm like, well, I know why you're out of alignment. You're running in one direction and you want something in another direction. So here's the questions he asked. Talent. What do you do well? Desire. What do you want to do? Recognition. What do others say you do well? Results. What do you do well that's been and given productive return? Growth. What do you do that you can keep getting better at? It says it's supposed to be your, it says you. When your talent, desire, recognition, and growth all line up, and it's affirmed and recognized by others, you're probably doing what you're created to do. So we kind of talked about, sometimes in this list, you might have a talent to do something, but you don't have the desire to do it. Or you have the desire to do it, but you have no skill to do it, and you haven't produced any results, you don't have the growth. So, how do you bring all this together? This is why it's really good to work with a coach, and he actually talks about that later. He's like, that's one of the things new people need. Autonomy, he talked about just being able to do it on your own. I didn't know this, but Jamestown was actually set up originally as like a commonwealth where everybody owned everything and everybody shared everything. There's a big popular idea that this is the way it would work. Well, guess what happened? Half the people didn't do squat. They just sat around and sucked up what everybody else was doing. It was then taken over, and basically the person who took over Jamestown said, okay, so we're going to have a new way to do this. And his quote was, and it was just, it was something that he got from a book. He said, that he will not work, shall not eat except for sickness or being disabled. So basically he said, look, if you don't get outside, you're not doing anything. Eventually it was kind of, everybody was given a certain amount of land, and all of a sudden productivity didn't go up 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, it went up 4 times. It says when people had the freedom to make choices and were rewarded for their efforts, productivity, it went up nearly 10-fold in normal business. It says the businesses that offered autonomy grew 4 times faster, and had a third less turnover. So when you give people the choice to kind of go do it the way they want to do it. So that's indirect sales and network marketing. You can go out and contact a bunch of people. You can go out and contact one at a time. You can sell product. You can recruit. It's totally up to you how you get this done. Totally up to you. I'm going to show you the way that I feel is the simplest, easiest way. I'm going to show you the way that I've found that makes the most money, that puts in the least amount of time, but it's totally up to you how you put it together. So I really see this as one of his better books. Relationships, another area to be able to motivate. You have to get to know people. One of my greatest pleasures in life is getting to do something that matters with people that matter to me. The partnership principle, working together, increases the odds of winning together. So he talks a lot about, you can do it yourself and you can do it faster. But if you do it with a group of people, the right group of people, not only can you do something bigger, but it's more meaningful because there's all these different experiences that happen that you're able to help others. And he talks about giving. What's greater than using your gifts to help others? So he talks about this text that he sent out. This is so good. He said, I often send texts to my members of my team to let them know I appreciate them and remind them the value of work. Now, I would send out, you're doing a great job. That's just, I've been kind of taught at the simplest level, I guess, about this. And obviously I didn't receive text messages growing up because we didn't have text messages, but I didn't receive those type of messages. I would say more or less my grandmother and my great-grandmother would send cards. And I don't mean just birthday cards and Christmas cards. I'm talking about just regular cards, hey, how are you doing, whatever. And there would be these hey, you're doing great kind of messages. But John's message is different. He said, what's greater than using your gifts to help others? The answer, using your gifts to collaborate with others to help others. So he said, that's what we're doing. So he's kind of in an indirect way, it's a very open way of stating, I appreciate you, but it's also an open way of stating, hey, this is what we're getting done. And it gives direction, which is funny. It gives direction without giving direction, right? He's like, this is what we're doing. This is the question. This is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it. So I loved what he got back. He said, if you find yourself on an island all alone, realize you created it. That was one of the people that he works with, Kristen Cole. I believe personal information comes when we give ourselves to a greater cause than ourselves and believe in the possibilities that make a difference. So he talks about transformation. Progress. Leaders want to experience personal and professional growth. So this is where you have to take people through experiences, take people through books, take people through trainings. Hey, what did you think of this? And then ask the questions afterwards. You can only make progress when getting traction, not just spinning your wheels. There's a lot of people just spinning wheels. They're going in circles. A track is planned path that we want to go run on. It was funny that we were talking about names of something and the word path came up and career came up in this section, right after I talked about it. Action is what we do actually gets results. It's what actions are getting results. The definition of effectiveness is, are you getting results? If you're not getting any results, then you have to look at what? You have to look at the actions you're taking. Maybe you have to look at the order in which you're taking the actions. Maybe you have to look at the process that leads up to those actions. What is going on? Why is it not producing results? Having a clear track and taking action gives us traction and can take us where we actually want to go. John mentions a great book, Strength Finders. And in Strength Finders, I know you can take a bunch of tests. I have the book. I've not read it. John realized that out of the first 5, his 3 were all about, basically this chapter. I recognize that consistency has been the key to my progress. So John said he basically beat everyone, not because he was hitting home runs, but because his goal was to get on base every day. He said, I got so influential about learning, I never quit. I didn't have any big home runs early in my career. I wasn't a home run hitter. My secret was to get up to bat every single day. So he always went to work every single day on the basics that he created. I found out through many, many trainings and many books that I've read by John that his original guy that he met with to learn about growth was actually sold him a kit from LMI, Leadership Management Institute, which is actually from Paul J. Myers, kind of one of the godfathers of the industry of personal development. And it was in that course that John basically read, hey, I need to figure out what I need to do on a regular basis to keep going and keep this, take this to another level. How do I keep growing? How do I keep going? And he said it took him about 5 years to find his 5 things that he was going to do every day that would set him apart from everybody else in the industry, that would set him apart from everybody else in the field, where once he's like, once I committed to it and I did it for 5 years, I got so far out in front of people, no one could ever catch up. He's like, it was impossible, just because he was so consistent. He said he's actually only missed these 5 things, I think he said 2 days in his life, and that was when he had his heart attack and was basically in the hospital. But as soon as he was conscious, he asked for the information and started over. By the way, his 5 were pretty simple. He's like, I'm going to read every day, I'm going to write every day, I'm going to question every day, I'm going to file every day, and I'm going to think every day. So these are the 5 things that he sits down and does. He actually has a room where he does his thinking and his writing. He gets up really, really early in the morning. He goes, I like to get up early in the morning because nobody's awake. Nobody's awake. I can sit in my room. I can work for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before everybody's up, before I have to answer phone calls, before I have to do email. He's like, this is what I do. And he goes, and I isolate myself to that room to be able to do it. And that's how he's produced so much content. In fact, I can't remember if Stanford or MIT said that John's produced more content on the subject of leadership than any person in history. I don't even know how you figure that out. But he said we need to grow in small incremental steps. So reading books, attending seminars, getting coaching, finding mentors, asking questions are all part of the process of being able to grow consistently in whatever field you're in. Mastery. Leaders want to excel in their work. So no one can achieve mastery if they're not willing to grow. Excellence is the gradual result of always striving to do better. That was actually Pat Riley. So you got to have the attitude of excellence. The attitude of excellence basically says, I've got to do better than what I've been doing. He said, I value people too much not to give them my best. I want to help people. I remind myself that respect must be earned daily. People may honor you for what you did yesterday, but they'll respect you only for what you do today. Because people are kind of short-sighted like that. If you want to become good at your profession, you need to have the right mindset. Recognition. Leaders want to appreciate others, so one of the things is just being able to recognize people. John's probably one of the better people I've ever seen at doing this. Everyone desires to be recognized, praised, and appreciated. Recognize and praise their work. Let them know that you appreciate their accomplishments. So, especially when out doing the initial work inside of the business, this recognition consistently helps grow people. It was not something I grew up with. It was not something I understood. But now I try to do as much as possible to do this. 7 is money. He's like, I put money at the end because I don't feel it's the most important thing. He goes, a lot of times people will run for something, and then once they get the money to do it, then the motivation wears off, then the inspiration wears off because now they have it. One of the principles that I've learned from one of the greatest guys in the industry is he said, anytime you're running for a dream, you need to turn around, and then anytime you're running for a dream, anytime you run towards it and you're 3/4 of the way there, you need to set another goal or dream. So he's like, success is a constant progression of goals and dreams. Progression meaning you're going further. You're consistently going further. I kind of like the way John puts it. He's like, it's not about how many goals you can hit. It's how far can you grow. So not what is my goal, but how far can I grow? So what is the limit? You don't know. Until you push yourself. So that's kind of his way of going every single day. Once you're good, he's like, once you're good, he said, the best thing you can do, I like this, the best thing you can do with money is buy your financial freedom, which gives a person options. He goes, once you solve that, he's like, focus on giving. He's like, that'll be the best feeling you can get. Motivators connect. From motivation to habit. He uses the word best. So, I'm not super motivated is a lie that the undisciplined tell themselves to accept mediocrity. please don't determine their future. People don't determine their future. They determine their habits, which determine their future. The more they do the right things, the greater the skill they'll develop, and the more they'll enjoy what they do. So that's kind of what I got out of this chapter. You know, you have to get to know people. You have to get to know what they like. You have to get to know their personality. You have to know what motivates them. And then you're going to basically move them forward by recognizing them and congratulating them and complimenting them and then bringing them towards whatever they want to do. That's what makes it all stick together. So that's what we got. Today's Friday, so tomorrow we will not be here. Well, I mean, we'll be here. We just won't be on the show.
All right, cool. If you guys would like to go follow us on YouTube, you are more than welcome to. Each one of these videos is going to be uploaded there, so that way if you'd like to go back, rewatch this, take some notes, you are more than welcome to. And we will see you guys on Monday.
And I'll put the notes up.